Passively investing in low-cost index funds such as stock market ETFs like SPY or IWM has gained a ton of popularity in recent years as we've seen dramatic improvements in trading and investment technology, and we've seen stock trading fees go to zero across the board, meaning that you can buy and sell stocks for free with most major brokerage firms. And also, these low-cost index funds charge close to 0% a year in management fees, which essentially means you can get invested into funds and pay virtually $0 in fees and commissions to get started with those investments. There's no costs in terms of fees, but there are indirect costs of simply putting your money into index funds, and that will be the focus of this video. The indirect cost of investing solely in index funds that track the broad stock market is that you will eliminate the possibility of returning 10x or 100x on the investments that you've made into those funds, at least within a reasonable amount of time. At an 8% return per year, it would take 30 years to 10x your money. And that's assuming you get the 8% return per year for 30 years. Let's say you were a phenomenal market timer and you invested into the S&P 500 on March 9th, 2009, which was the market bottom of the great financial crisis, and you held until now, which is May of 2020. Well, if you invested in SPY on March 9th, 2009, you paid about $68 per share of SPY. And if we look at the price today, SPY is currently trading around $290 per share. You would have quadrupled your money, earning a 326% return from the market bottom of March 2009 until today. And again, that's assuming you were a phenomenal market timer and you bought right at the bottom and you held until today. Dividends earned on that investment in SPY would have boosted your return, but it would not have 10x your return. So it would have boosted your return, but not by a significant multiple. But how did individual companies perform during that same time frame, and assuming you paid twice the price per share from the March 2009 bottom? So in this case, you were investing in individual companies. You did not buy at the bottom. You were actually pretty poor at market timing, and you paid twice the amount per share compared to the 2009 bottom. CMG, which is Chipotle, was trading at $100 per share, which was 2x the price of the March 2009 bottom. And currently, shares of CMG are trading for around $880, meaning that you made 8.8 times your money that you invested into CMG, paying twice the amount per share that CMG was trading for at the market bottom in 2009. Visa was trading for around $26 a share, again, paying twice the amount that you would have paid if you invested at the market bottom in 2009. And today, Visa shares are currently around $180, meaning that you made nearly 7 times your money on that investment over that time frame. And again, you did not buy the market bottom. You paid a 100% premium for each share compared to the March 2009 low. Adobe was around $32 a share, doubling from the March 2009 low. And now Adobe is trading around $350, meaning you 11x'd your investment in those shares. Massimo was around $50 per share, again doubling from March 2009, and now that is at $214 per share, which means you made over 4 times your money in those shares, paying twice the premium from the March 2009 lows and holding until today. And then you have the extremely disruptive stocks that have returned far greater returns than these stocks that I've just mentioned, and these stocks would be Netflix, Apple, Tesla, Shopify, Nvidia, and Amazon, to name a few of the big names. So when we compare individual stock picking, meaning investing in individual companies, to passively investing in index funds, it's clear that when you invest in index funds, you are very likely to make money on your investment over long periods of time, but you eliminate the possibility of having those huge home run investments, which you only need one of those to make a huge difference in your investment portfolio. And you only need to invest a small amount of money in these individual names to even beat your larger investment in the overall index fund or market. Let's compare the upsides and downsides of stock picking versus passively investing in the overall market by investing in index funds such as SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF. When you invest in an index fund such as the S&P 500, you own 500 different companies in the US across all sectors of the US economy, and because of that, you remove all firm-specific risk. Firm-specific risk is essentially the risk you are taking by investing in an individual company. By investing in 500 different companies, you are eliminating the risk that one of those companies will go bankrupt because you have 499 other companies that did not go out of business, and therefore you did not lose 100% of your investment. So when investing in broad stock market funds such as the S&P 500, you eliminate all firm-specific risk and you are left with systemic risk. Systemic risk is the risk that the entire economy or financial system will come crumbling down. So an example of systemic risk is, of course, the great financial crisis in 2008 and 2009, when we saw a broad decrease in the valuations of companies across the board. That is systemic risk. In terms of volatility, investing in broad market ETFs such as the S&P 500, your volatility will be much lower compared to investing in an individual company, and especially if you're investing in growth stocks such as Tesla. So Tesla, if you're not familiar, they went from $300 a share all the way up to about $1,000 a share, all the way back down to $350 a share, and as I record this, they're back up to around $800 a share. So that is insane volatility. If you invest in the S&P 500, a 30% decrease, which is what we just experienced from the February highs to the March lows, that is a far less significant drawdown compared to the 66% drawdown seen in Tesla shares during the same period. In terms of the risk of total loss, when you're investing in a broad market fund like the S&P 500, your risk of total loss is virtually zero because you would need all of those companies to go out of business, and that's just not going to happen. When you are investing in an individual company, obviously there is a much higher chance than 0% that that individual company will go bankrupt. In terms of management fees, it's essentially the same. When you buy a low-cost index fund such as SPY, you're going to pay about 10 basis points, I believe, is the most recent expense ratio or management fee on a yearly basis. And that means you're going to pay $10 for every $10,000 invested per year in management fees. And when you invest in an individual company, you're not going to pay any management fees because you're just investing in shares of that company. So any costs or commissions or fees associated with buying that company and holding that company will be limited to the trading commissions that you pay to buy and sell shares of stock. But as I mentioned earlier, there is essentially zero trading fees for major brokerage firms right now, as in October of 2019, essentially the whole industry went to free stock trading. In terms of return potential, when you are investing in a broad market fund, such as the S&P 500, historically speaking, the return on an annual basis has been around 8%, and that gets higher to about 12% when you include dividends. But when investing in individual companies, that return potential is far greater, especially if you are investing in growth stocks, and in some cases, you could see 50 to 60% annual returns during that company's breakout period. But these two things go hand in hand. Volatility and reward potential typically go hand in hand. So since you have a lower volatility when investing in a broad stock market fund, typically your returns are going to be lower. But when you're investing in individual companies, you are taking a lot more risk and therefore you have a lot more reward. The last thing I want to talk about is investment selection. When you are investing in a broad market fund such as SPY or IWM, which is the Russell 2000 ETF, you are investing in 2,000 different companies, and obviously there are going to be companies within that fund that you might not have bought otherwise. So when you buy the index fund, you are going to buy a lot of companies that you want to own, but you are also going to be forced to buy a lot of companies that you might not want to own. And because of that, when you're investing in an index fund, you do not have any investment selection. Whereas when you are picking individual companies to invest in, obviously you have full control over which companies you invest in. So you have more flexibility in terms of investment selection. So the point of this video is not to shame either camp. I like both approaches, but I'm simply saying that with the rise in popularity of passive index fund investing, I just want to remind people that it's still a good thing to invest a small portion of your account into individual companies, or maybe a larger portion of your account if you are a younger investor, you have a high risk tolerance, and you have a long-term investment time frame. But if you are a more conservative investor and you don't want to go through the hassle of researching individual companies to invest in, then I think investing passively long-term in index funds is a great strategy, and I don't think you're going to go wrong over a multi-decade period when employing that strategy. But I wanted to make this video to just remind people that when you put your money only in an index fund, you are completely eliminating the possibility of seeing home run returns on a portion of your investments. And I know I cherry picked some stocks in this video of stocks that had historically strong returns over the past few years, but going forward 10 years, we could buy all of these same companies, and 10 years down the line, these stocks could have still produced massive gains relative to investing in an index fund. So the point of this video is not to say that stock picking is easy and that it is an easy way to multiply your money 10x or 100x, because obviously not every stock 100x's, but by only investing in index funds and not doing any individual company investments, you will eliminate the potential for those huge gains down the road. So as I said, it depends on where you are as an investor, how long you have before you need to actually start drawing from your investment portfolio and your risk tolerance. But if you are a young investor and you have a high risk tolerance, then I definitely think that investing in individual companies that you enjoy is a great long-term strategy. If you're new to my channel and you are interested in finance and investing videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button and enable notifications so that you can get all of my videos in the future. My name is Chris Butler, and I will see you next time.